Hello and a very warm welcome back to our YouTube channel. My name is Maria and I am the owner and founder here at the New Mummy Company in Oakville, Ontario. Last week we spoke about night nannies, postpartum support, and we've had a bunch of questions come in from you, so thank you very much for your questions and getting in touch. We loved hearing from you. And so today I'm going to rerun over some of those questions because I know that that's information that you seem to have a thirst for. So I'm going to run through a couple of different questions. So if you're interested in night nanny support or postpartum support, whether that's day support or night support, pull up a chair, get cozy. If you have time, grab a drink, and I'll run you through some of that right now. So the first question that we got was, well, what does a night nanny do? I've never hired a night nanny before. I'm having my first or my second baby. It's of interest to me, but can you explain a little bit more about what the duties are that they do? And I don't want to come across as a complete newbie, even though you are a first-time parent. It's a great question and it's one that I'm very happy to answer for you. So what does a night nanny do? Well, they come to support you, and every family's needs are different. So whatever you need is going to be different from another family. So typically the things that we take care of come under postpartum care, newborn care, and what we call nursery duties. So the nursery duties are the standard things that anybody will do while they're caring for you and your baby in your home. So washing of bottles, preparing the breast pump, sterilizing feeding equipment, making feeds, storing breast milk, defrosting breast milk, making sure that the baby is cared for. So bathing, diapering, burping, feeding, swaddling, or maybe an educational piece where you maybe don't feel confident in your skills as a new parent just yet in bathing, burping, diapering, swaddling. Your night nanny can help you to learn how all of those are done and done properly. So there's a big education piece. In terms of feeding, it depends on how you're feeding your baby as to how you can best utilize your night nanny and how she can support you so that you get the best from her services, but also the most amount of rest. As we know, tiny babies are going to feed very regularly overnight. That's anything from every hour to about every 3 hours in the early days. And so that can mean a lot of disrupted sleep for you as a new parent. So when it comes to feeding your baby, whether you're breastfeeding or pumping, you can utilize her services so that you are just awake for either the feeding session or the pumping session. Now, if it's feeding, we can bring the baby to you in bed, or we can come and wake you and have you come to feed in the nursery. Whatever is your preference. If you've had a C-section, you're probably wanting baby to come to you. If you're pumping, the night nanny can get your pump ready for you, leave it in a designated pre-agreed place for you to go get it. And then once you've finished pumping, you can go right back to bed, and that milk will probably be used to feed baby unless you have agreed that you're going to use other milk pumped at a previous time or other sources of milk, whether you're supplementing with formula. So again, that's a conversation that you have to have with your night nanny, but once she knows what milk that is to be used, she can use the milk, feed the baby, and then get the pump ready for the next feeding session, so that once again, you are just awake for the feeding session. If you are formula feeding, then both you and your partner can go to bed and spend the night fully asleep without disruption, because we will make the formula, feed the baby, take care of everything post-feed, burping, diapering, swaddling, etc., and then wash everything, sterilize everything, and get everything set up and ready for the next feed. And at the end of the night, before she will leave in the morning, take care of everything to make sure that all of the bottles are washed, ready and sterilized for the next feed. If you're using powdered formula, then you can discuss with her whether or not you want the next feed to be prepared in advance before she leaves for the night as in when she leaves in the morning. So that is a pretty good recap and rundown of what they can do to help with feeding and the overnight duties that they will take care of. But have a discussion with your night nanny and let her know what is the biggest thing that you feel you need help with. Every family is different, every family's needs are different, and we are very happy to accommodate and cater for you, as I am sure all the night nannies, maternity nurses, baby nurses, whatever term that they are using or you are using right across the world will do. They will all want to create the environment that you are looking for and provide the support that you are looking for. So moving on then to duration, number of nights, number of hours. This is one of the biggest questions that we get, and I'm so glad that somebody posed this question because it gives me a chance to talk to you a little bit more about how long, how many nights, when, how often, how many hours. There's so many questions. Again, I know I sound like a broken record, but it does depend on the family circumstances. So the family who has a lot of support may not need a night nanny for very long. A mom who has had a preemie baby, or you're having multiples, or you don't have a partner, you've chosen to have a baby by yourself, or you don't have a lot of family, you have a partner that travels all the time. There's different circumstances within every single family, and your needs are going to be determined by that. Obviously, cost is a factor too that you need to consider. So think about how you have done in your pregnancy. Have you been well in your pregnancy? Is there anything that could need a little bit of extra recovery time once the baby is born? Has there been a history of anxiety or depression? Because that could potentially be an indicator that there is postpartum anxiety or postpartum depression in the future. So those are things to consider when it comes to thinking about the duration of your night nanny. When we think about little babies, we have to think about how little they are when they were born. So preemies, obviously, they're very small when they're born, so they're not going to get up to a weight where they can theoretically have a longer stretch overnight for quite some time. Whereas a baby who's born at 7.5, 8, maybe even 9 pounds, they can do pretty well pretty quickly, but that's not to say that they won't wake up during the night because of just being in a habit. So there's weighing up the pros and cons of whether you have a small baby or a little baby. While a big baby might be able to feed a little bigger, they might not sleep through the night as quickly as you would imagine. So we probably see babies waking very frequently for about the first 6 weeks, but that's not to say that there isn't going to be frequent wakings for at least 12 weeks. So depending on how your thought process works with how encouraging, and I use that term as an open description of how much you want to encourage your baby to sleep through the night. Some people will want to get that baby into a pretty set routine, into a schedule, and start giving them lots and lots and lots of encouragement to sleep through the night. And then there are other people who are just happy to go with the flow and let their baby decide as and when they're good and ready to sleep through the night. There's no right, there's no wrong. It's up to you. It's your baby. So you do as you wish. But when it comes to how long you should book your night nanny for and how many nights you want to have, then we need to think about how do you do with sleep deprivation? How much support do you have? And how are you going to cope with sleep deprivation if you are doing the brunt of the nights by yourself? So having somebody at least a couple of nights a week is going to take off the edge of some of that sleep deprivation, and knowing that they're coming for a period of time means continuity of care, which is really important to us, and it means you get to build a relationship, but so does the baby, with their carer. It also means that you're not frantically searching for a replacement 2 weeks in, 6 weeks in, knowing that that time has gone too fast. Extending your night nanny can only be possible if she has the availability to do so. Things are usually pretty busy in the postpartum support world, so don't take it for granted that just because when you booked her, she was available to be booked longer, that doesn't mean that she's going to be available to be booked longer when you need her. So if you are thinking about extending, have that conversation much sooner than later, just to avoid disappointment. We regularly have to tell people that we don't have enough availability for them, and we're always sad when we have to do that, but it is a simple fact of how things can run around here, which we are very sorry about. So another thing that you can do to sort of reduce the dependency that you have on your night nanny and reduce the cost is to start big and end small. And what we mean by that is start with a lot more nights per week. And as you go through the contract, then you can decrease the number of nights. So you start off having somebody 4, 5, 6 nights a week, and then as you work through and the babies start to get a little bit older, and as you start to recover, and as the babies start to get a bit older and they start to sleep a little better but not sleeping through the night yet, then maybe you want to reduce down to 2, 3, 4 nights a week. So you're getting a chance to find your feet as a parent. You're dealing with a little bit of sleep deprivation, but you know that there are some glorious nights in the week where there is some really good chunks of sleep that are coming for you, which everybody looks forward to. So the number of nights and the number of days is really up to you. And just remember, choose from days or from nights. So it's not just night nanny. We use the term night nanny, you know, off the cuff almost at this point, but there is day support too. So if day support is something that would suit you better, then by all means go for somebody to come in during the day to give you a break, help you out a little bit, and allow you to get a nap and a shower and something to eat without trying to do it with a baby in your hands. The other question that we got is qualifications and experience. Because we use the term night nanny, a lot of people are assuming that the people that work with us or the people that work in this industry are not qualified individuals. So that's where I wanted to clarify and apologize for any misconceptions that I may have given you. Our team are qualified individuals. In fact, they have to be. We get a lot of people who would love to work with us. Our ratio for hiring is actually only 5 in 100 people. So for every 100 candidates that come to us, we only hire 5. And the reason for that is because there are certain criteria that they have to fit. So if you're a nurse and you want to come and work with us, that's great. We would love to hear from you. But if you're coming from cardiology or if you're coming from orthopedics, then unfortunately you're not going to have the skill set that we're looking for. So our skill set and our requirements are quite strict. And that's simply so because we want to be able to provide the best services that we can to our families. So not only do you have to be qualified, but you have to have relevant and recent experience. Relevant and recent experience meaning that yes, you are a nurse, but you're coming from cardiology, then that's no good to us, unfortunately. And recent experience means that the experience that you have in NICU, in postpartum care, in the community, as a midwife, the relevant experience must be within the last 3 years. And the reason for that primarily is things change and safety. We want to make sure that the knowledge and the experience that you've had is up to date so that there is no possibility for errors. So all of our team will have a relevant qualification and recent experience. So the qualifications that they can have can be pretty much a very varied and wide background. So starting off with the Canadian nurses and the Canadian midwives, and then moving to doulas, and then moving to internationally trained nurses, internationally trained midwives, internationally trained pediatricians, or internationally trained obstetricians. There is a newer course in Canada, the perinatal support workers. That is also a suitable qualification. However, the PSW, the personal support worker, is not going to be a suitable qualification unless you have been very lucky and you have been working extensively in newborn care. Because typically we find that PSWs have spent a lot of time in care of the elderly. Now that's a very admirable position to be in, and we thank you for your service to caring for our elderly population. But unfortunately, without having the skills and the knowledge in newborn and postpartum care, it's not going to work for us. So that brings me back to doulas. Doulas are somebody who will train specifically either in birth or postpartum, and occasionally in both. And doulas will go through a pretty quick training, but then they will go through a certification process. And so we have a small number of doulas who are going through their certification process, which is kind of like an apprenticeship for all the world. And so that means that they are available to hire at a slightly lower rate because they haven't yet been certified. But it also means that they are working as they gain their experience, but they're working with us so that they have support as they go through that mentorship. The other thing that they can do is they can work to be able to provide you, the family, with a little bit of insider hints and tips and knowledge at that lesser rate, which proves to be a benefit for the families as well. So doulas are another alternative when it comes to qualifications, because the mentorship that they go through to be able to get their certification actually takes quite a while. And so that means that we are very happy and very comfortable in hiring doulas that are going through their certification process as well. So in terms of our experience and qualifications, we hope that that answers your questions. I'm sure that there will be more questions, and if there is some really good questions, then I will happily come back with another video. But for all of you parents who are expecting a baby or who very recently had a baby, I hope this sheds some light on what you can consider when it comes to hiring a newborn care specialist or a night nanny to come into your home and care for your baby. The other video that we did last week is the beginning. This is video number 2. So if you haven't yet seen video number 1, then I would say go back and check that out too. I hope you have enjoyed today's video. I hope that you'll give us a thumbs up and let us know what you thought. And again, we would love to know your thoughts. So you can either comment down below or you can get in touch with us directly. We would love to be able to hear from you. You can follow us along every Thursday, where we will be back next Thursday at 11:15 a.m. with another YouTube video for you. And you can also catch us on all of the socials. If you are a social butterfly, then we would love to have you join us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter as well. So we hope to see you back here next time. And until then, take care, have a great week, and keep smiling.